Gentlemen, come here, closer. I want to let you in on a little secret. We women can tell if you've learned how to have sex from watching porn, and not in a good way. Hopefully you've heard this before. If not, definitely subscribe to my channel. But porn is not an accurate depiction of pleasurable sex as women enjoy having it. So if you are out here trying to fuck like a porn star, chances are that your partners aren't exactly satisfied. And no, you cannot take their pornified moans as evidence otherwise. And hey, look, I am guilty of saying to you, follow me, I will teach you how to fuck like a porn star. Those words have come out of my mouth, but that's because you want to hear that. That's not actually what you want. It's just what you want to hear. What you actually want is to fuck like the best fucking possible version of yourself, as if you're reading each other's minds and that you're constantly getting better and better and better every time you hop into bed. Wouldn't you rather have that than the ability to perform in a video? Just saying. I'm Caitlin B, YouTuber, sex and intimacy coach, star of the TV series Good Sex, and in this video, I am going to break down the 8 mistakes that you have learned from porn, and make sure that you stick around all the way into the end, because I guarantee some of these are gonna catch you by surprise. And by the way, I made a video 4 years ago on the exact same subject as 10 mistakes that you've learned from porn. And by the way, in YouTube years, that's like a century's worth of time. So if you want to see my thinking on that subject when I was a wee baby YouTuber, 10 mistakes that men learn by watching porn. Check that out after you watch this video. And real quick, worth reminding that this is a judgment-free space. I have opinions on porn. I've made plenty of videos on how to quit porn, how to know if you have a porn problem. You know, porn isn't like a monolithic one-size-fits-all kind of thing. It doesn't impact all people the same. But a lot of men in the world today, especially as they were growing up, just didn't have access to quality information about sex and sexuality. They didn't have access to people that modeled healthy, pleasurable sexual intimacy. So it makes sense that you would then turn to porn to teach you what to do. I mean, it's the only educational material out there. However, as you develop, these behaviors and expectations can become deeply ingrained, even if you're trying not to let them be. And on top of this being not what women actually want, the other issue is that you're basing your sexual experience on what you've seen in porn, not what you actually want, not what expressing your own authentic sexual desire and having the best sex that you can have. And when it comes to finding your authentic sexual expression, as well as unraveling all of the things that have stopped you from living your best sexual life, there's a membership for that. That's my membership, HPM. If you're interested, check out the link in the description. All right, let's dive in. 8 mistakes that you've learned from porn. Number 1, pleasure is something that is done to women. Think about it. In mainstream straight porn, it usually looks like it's the woman's job to receive and perform pleasure and the man's job to do all of the action and give the pleasure. I mean, most times he looks like he is the active participant and she's just receiving a pounding and screaming in response, maybe having an orgasm. It's not a collaboration between 2 people, and certainly not 2 equals. And that's a problem, because that's exactly what really high quality sex truly is. Both people are equally involved in deciding what feels good. Even in dominant sub, even in power play, even in kinky sex, both people are collaborators. In fact, that's one of the hallmarks of dominance and submission, is that the sub actually is directing the action and the dom is creating the action. It's a team thing. The problem with learning this the porn way is that men learn that they have to be the one to give the pleasure and to give an orgasm. And they feel like they have to come into that sexual encounter having all of the moves and the techniques and exactly what they're going to do already figured out. When you let go of this dynamic, this idea, it allows you to experience each other in the moment, moment to moment. And that allows you to collaborate, to create a pleasurable experience together that works for both of you. And the funny thing is that when you do it this way, you're actually far more likely to see her satisfied. Number 2, moaning means you're doing it right. Porn is performative, and loud moaning is part of that performance. In porn videos, you know that a woman is having a good time because and yelling that at the top of her lungs. But if you're used to seeing this, you may have it in your head that when a real woman that you're with is maybe a little quieter, or maybe she's moaning because she thinks that she needs to moan. If you watched Good Sex, perfect example is Erica. Here's the thing. Women express pleasure in so many different ways. Some are very quiet when things feel really good. Some can be very loud when things don't feel very good. Moaning is not the most important or the singular most important expression of pleasure inside of a sexual act. I would argue that verbal conversation, communication, and some of the physical signs like flushed chest, heavy breathing, looking silly. You know, if you're really having good sex, like you do not look good on camera. Your eyes roll back in your head and like one eye's closed, the other's off to the left. Like I've never seen anyone who is like truly in the throes of passion look particularly glamorous, okay? That's a good indication that it actually feels really good. So moaning is not the only indication of pleasure. In fact, often in porn, you hear men dirty talk in like this really specific way, like it's very explicit. And if that's your thing, then like absolutely go for it. If it's genuine, if it's authentic, that's what you're into, bravo. And sometimes moaning is exactly what someone needs, man or woman, to get into and find their arousal. Sometimes making noise is actually part of the path to turning up our arousal and getting to orgasm. There's no right or wrong way to express yourself in pleasure as long as it's authentic. And of course, if you really want to know how much pleasure a woman is experiencing, just ask. Number 3 myth, the harder, the better. Let's talk about thrusting. In porn, there's a pretty clear relationship between how hard a man thrusts and how much pleasure a woman feels, right? Or at least expresses with her moaning. The harder, the better. But in real life, it is far from the truth, and it is definitely not that simple. In order for a woman to experience an orgasm with penetration, she likely needs to do 2 things. One is to create tension and squeeze using the deeper muscles inside of her pelvic floor on your penis, which is very difficult to do if it's moving in and out very quickly. It's hard to get that squeeze and create that tension. And she likely needs some form of clitoral contact that can come just from having your bodies push really closely together, which again, if you're thrusting in and out, is it going to happen? This is why women notoriously like positions where they can grind, and men tend to like positions where they can thrust. Now, obviously painting with a broad stroke, that's not true for all people and certainly not all the time. Stay with me for a second here. There is a time for hard thrusting. Okay? If a woman is close to orgasm, if she is asking for it, if she needs to turn up the intensity, sometimes it's fun and you just get caught up in the moment and go really hard, okay? All great. But that is something that has got to be built up too. It is not the main event. It's not the main course. It's not even the biggest thing on the plate, okay? You must, in order to have a great sexual experience, be able to play a diverse number of notes and sensations and feelings and thrusting. And if you just start with hard thrusting, chances are that it's going to be, at best, a little bit uncomfortable for her. More on that in a second. Number 4, myth from porn, women don't need lube. Lube is amazing. Lube may be one of the greatest inventions of our time. And even though you don't see it in porn, trust me, it is there. Yes, most women produce natural lubrication when they're aroused. But just like men don't always have control over their erections, women can't control how much lubrication they produce and when. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with using lube to create a better sexual experience. Have lube handy, have multiple different kinds of lube handy. It is honestly the hallmark of a great lover. Okay, myth from porn number 5, anal is effortless. In porn, it is not uncommon to see a man slip out of one hole and just go straight into the other. No warm up, no fuss, no conversation. But let me tell you, this is not how the human body works, okay? Those bodies are trained, they practiced. Tell you what. In reality, anal sex is something that you have to work up to. And unless your partner is already very experienced with anal, you will need time, sometimes multiple sessions over days, over weeks, to warm up in order to achieve penetration, and certainly in order to get to the thrusting that we see in porn. And just like I said, lube, lube, lube. The anus does not produce its own lube, and friction is not your friend. If you rush into anal penetration, like you see in porn, you run the risk of causing not just discomfort, but damage, like pain, tearing, bleeding. Things that will make someone never want to try anal again. And that's why on my YouTube channel, I think there's like 3 or 4 videos on anal and like first time anal alone, because I want you to get it right the first time so that it's an experience that you both want to go back to over and over and over again. Number 6. What is a sexy body and who deserves to have sex? There's a big chance that your body doesn't look like the bodies that you see in porn. No matter male, female, bodies in porn are professionals. They are cast professionals for that specific purpose. And whether that's abs or breasts or penis or labia, the depictions of human bodies in porn are exaggerated and they are very, very specific and often altered. So if your penis is smaller, your tummy is softer, your labia are bigger and more interesting, you have more or less body hair, you can rest assured that you are actually just part of the normal population of people that are not porn stars, which makes up the vast majority of everyone having sex, and you deserve sexual pleasure no matter what your body looks like, okay? Remember, porn stars, literally people make their living by staying in a certain kind of shape. The rest of us, not the case. Which brings us to number 7. Which positions feel the best? There are countless, an infinite number of sex positions available to you if you get down into it. And you know what? I recommend that you try as many as your body can comfortably get into. But if your go-tos are mainly what you see in porn, there are a couple of things that I want for you to consider. Porn is, by its very nature, the kind of porn we're talking about, is a visual medium. The positions that the actors are in are chosen for that purpose. The viewer, right? The ability to film. Pleasure is not the number one indicator of what kind of position those people are going to be in. It's all about the angle that it's being captured from. And do not BS me and tell me that you watch amateur porn and therefore it's totally different. Any sex with a camera present is necessarily impacted by that camera, and it's like there's a third party in the room when there's a camera in the room, okay? So remember that those positions are chosen specifically because they look good on camera and not because they actually feel good to the people who are in them. In fact, one person's favorite position may actually be really uncomfortable or uninteresting to another. So you actually don't know until you start trying combining your body with another person's body. Try different positions and have both partners communicate about what feels good to them. Which brings me to number 8. What to do with your hands. There's a detail you probably haven't noticed about porn, and that is that there's barely any hand action, at least past the foreplay part, or whatever, the beginning. Hands are used to grab and squeeze, smack, maybe even choke, but they are hardly ever used to caress, to contour, to slide, to scratch, to communicate love. And now don't get me wrong, like grab ass and spanking can be super hot. Like I said, time and a place for everything. But just like with thrusting, if you're only hitting that one note, you're missing out on most of the fun. And the truth for all of these is that the more that you rely on a single trick or a couple techniques, the less flexible that you'll be as a lover. And the less flexible you are, the more brittle you are. And the more brittle you are, the more fragile you are, and the greater risk of breaking. So to be a great lover, you need to be flexible and have a whole range of different touches and thrust techniques and positions that you can pull from, that you can adapt to the person and the body that's in front of you and the one that you are in that moment. Touching faces, necks, arms, back, being tender, running your hands across your partner's body, touching them in all the right places as foreplay, during sex, during aftercare. Hands are a primary form of physical connection, so use them. Great sex is a hands-on job. There you have it. 8 more ways that sex is not like what you see in the movies. If you like porn, if you enjoy porn, just making sure that you have a healthy relationship with it and that you understand that just like the Fast and the Furious, these are trained drivers on a closed course. Porn can be your greatest asset in coming up with new ideas, things to try, experiments to undergo. But remember that your body has hundreds of thousands of years written into its DNA of having sex. So trust that you do know what's up, and the more that you can be in your body and let it drive the experience, asking what feels good, what could feel even better, the better sex that you're gonna have 100% of the time. I'm an expert on this, and I'm telling you, you are an expert on your own lovemaking, all right? Let me know in the comments what else should have been listed in this video. I do read them, and I love to hear from you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you're subscribed. I'll see you here next week. Bye-bye.